Every Night is Game Night, episode 68. Our interview with Ignacy Trzewiczek, president of Portal Games. Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome back to Every Night is Game Night. I'm your host, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started, I wanted to wish each and every one of you out there a very, very happy new year. I hope you had a really great celebration and are looking forward to a great 2018. 2017 was a great year for our podcast. We had a lot of great guests, a lot of great interviews, a lot of great episodes, and we want to keep that rolling for you guys as much as humanly possible. So to that end, we have invited one of our most popular guests from last year back on the show, and he was good enough to give us some time, take some time out of his busy schedule to join us. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you again to the president and lead designer of Portal Games, Ignacy Trzewiczek. Ignacy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
Hello. We were just saying hello is not just branding. That is exactly how you greet everybody.
Yes, correct.
All right. You have a giant potpourri of games and events that are coming up pretty soon. I get the updates from Dice Tower News and, whatever it announces. And you had this press release where it was like, boom, 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 just games that are coming out. And this is like just in the first half of 2018. So I bet you're pretty exhausted and excited and all that.
I am not exhausted. I'm excited. I don't know the word exhausted. I really love what I do, and this is like living my passion. So awesome. I'm not exhausted, but yes, we do. We do work very hard, and it is quite funny that on one hand, for the whole industry, the last quarter is mostly sales, and just salespeople working very hard to make income. For my part of the company, that is a development team and designing team, for us is finishing the products that we will release in 2018. So my sales team was very busy selling games, but I and my playtester were super busy finishing the products for the next year. And as you mentioned, we have two big releases, two big games to be released in next year, plus many expansions, and plus many event kit and tournament kit for the fans. So there's a lot of things going on, but definitely I'm not exhausted.
All right. Good. So let's get into that. Last time, so we've talked about, I mentioned First Martians. You came on the show last year to talk about the pre-order, kind of talking about what it's like, how it's different from Robinson Crusoe, all that stuff, which was really, really great of you. This year, so First Martians is out into the wilds.
Yep.
And last year you were saying, oh, please crush the hype, but no more hype. This cannot be the greatest game since sliced bread. This year, we're definitely at a different space with First Martians. Tell me a little bit about that journey of, sending out the pre-orders, getting that initial feedback on BGG and elsewhere, all that kind of thing.
There is a year that I will remember for the whole my life. It was the most crazy year in my career for my whole company. And I'm preparing for a couple of last 2 weeks to write an article about that, but I have to get all my thoughts in a right space because it was quite a ride this year. So as you mentioned at the beginning of the year, it was amazing and crazy hype for the First Martians, and I was literally on interviews like with you telling guys this is just average Euro game, don't get excited, this is just a game. We were literally trying our best to lower the hype because it was so crazy. Finally, we had the pre-orders. We made 3,000 pre-orders, and we had to close the pre-orders because it was too much, and PayPal closed our account anyway. And after getting these 3,000 pre-orders, we produced the game. We sent to the not backers, but basically to the customers who pre-ordered the game. And then something very unexpected happened. We got a lot of complaints for the game, which was not super nice for me. Mm-hmm. But people were complaining that they have no clue how to play the game, that the rulebook sucks, that the game is super complicated. And what I learned, what I discovered was that because of the hype, because of the huge excitement for the game, we sold the game to many people who were not familiar with Robinson Crusoe, who were not heavy gamers like our average customer, but people just heard that First Martians, cool game, they pre-ordered the game, and then they received a huge box with the very complex game, and they started complaining. after a few weeks of struggle and discussing on the forums, helping people how to play the game, we finally released First Martians Almanac, a big file that helps how to play the game. And then the opinions began to come as the good ones, the good reviews, good opinions. Literally today when I woke up, I saw discussion on Twitter of two bloggers who were saying that the beginning was very hard for them with the First Martians, but now they are posting reviews and the game is awesome. And so basically from the heaven, the huge excitement, I went down to the hell with the very bad first feedback. And now at the end of the year, when finally people played the game, when finally they know how to play the game, I see these tweets when people say very nice things about the game. It was quite the ride. I will definitely write a long article about this because I was in all these different places this year and I will remember it for a long time. The most important for the customers, the most important for the gamers is that Portal Games will continue to support the game, will continue to produce a free content for the game. We do believe the game is amazing and the feedback we get right now from the people who finally know how to play the game, who finally played the game, is very positive. So yes, and on top of that, it was a very interesting thing that happened, and it is a very interesting lesson for me as well. And you probably saw it on the internet as well. At the end of the year, when there is a time to pay taxes and do all this boring stuff, a lot of retailers start to selling the First Martians with a huge discount because they wanted to, get the game out of the stock, which is also very interesting because they ordered a good amount of the games because of the excitement. The games was selling slower than they expected, and they have no patience. They have no, time to wait for the game to sell slowly, and they're just dropping the prices and selling the game with a huge discount, which is super interesting for me and super interesting to watch what will happen in January and February because that way we reached a ton of new gamers who were on the fence if to buy the game or not, and then with the good discounts they bought the game. We see a lot of tweets right now, people playing the game because they bought the game with the new prices. And I'm super eager what will happen in January, in February, when we will still continue to support the game, promote the game, bring the new content to the app because the game is app-driven, so we can update it very, very easily. And I reached in December to thousands of new customers, players who will play the game. So super interesting time for me, a huge lesson, and absolutely the year to be remembered.
Your blog is called Board Games That Tell Stories.
That is correct.
So that's on BGG.
That is a good story, yes.
So that is a good story that's going to be available on BGG. In case you don't know where Ignacy writes his stuff, it's actually readily available. His brain is just kind of out there for people. So I wanted to pause a second before we move past this. So there is still this, I guess, a persistent idea. You mentioned before that the rulebook sucks. I think that people still think that the rulebook sucks.
Yep.
So, I mean, give me your perspective. Does the rulebook really suck?
This is very interesting topic. In my opinion, the rulebook probably lacks or something. We spend lots of hours analyzing after the initial feedback, analyzing the rulebook. That's why we came up with the First Martians Almanac. But if you would compare the First Martians Almanac, this ultimate file, with the rulebook, there is a huge change in the layout, the huge change how the information is presented, but there is not that much new information. Like we just, of course, we added some paragraphs, we added some information that people were searching in the rulebook and had trouble to find them. But what we changed the most was giving much more examples, much more photos of the situations on the board, much more clear layout, bullet points instead of the huge paragraphs. Like we changed the layout mostly, and of course we added some sentences. And then after releasing First Martians Almanac, suddenly the game became much easier to play, and people know how to play the game. So the rulebook sucks, and this is the fact because people are complaining, and you cannot discuss with that. So definitely the rulebook sucks. But it is a very interesting case to study, and is an interesting case for every publisher actually, because we all struggle with the rulebooks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting case to see if it was actually the wording what sucks, or maybe the layout, or maybe both, probably both. But it's very, very interesting case. I learned a lot this year. Our rulebooks next year will be so much better because it was very painful for us to read about all the problems. And yes, this is very, very interesting thing. For me, rulebook sucks. That's for sure because people had problems. But on which level it sucked, this is very, very interesting case to analyze and to understand.
Well, we did a review, and I like the game. I especially like the campaign. The campaign is where it's at. If you guys aren't playing the campaign, you're not doing First Martians right, in my opinion. You have some really good stuff in there. So I think where I eventually landed in terms of the rulebook was I was able to figure out the game like everybody else, but I found that there were a couple of, I guess, unintuitive things in terms of the board game itself, where you look at the game, how it really works, and you look at how you know, quote unquote, how regular games work, and there was kind of a disconnect there. I guess an example would be like the meter on the top that tracks your reserve. Yeah. I think that like in a game, usually that meter, or if a game has a meter, then it tracks something that's kind of more active. So like every turn I get something, I'd lose something, I get something. That doesn't move for half the game because you're using you're not using your core stuff. You only move it when you reserve stuff. So then people are looking at the meter up top. I think Shut Up and Sit Down made this very exact point where they were like watching Rodney Smith videos and doing this and doing that and doing the other thing, and finally it dawned on them, oh, this is for the reserves. Even though it says so right in the book, the barrier wasn't what's in the book. The barrier was how they're used to games working. So I don't know if you kind of had thoughts about that, or if you encountered that when you were looking at the design and the rulebook and stuff.
We definitely, there is a lot of things that happened all together. So basically, as the most important thing, the First Martian is a complex game. The problem is that every single scenario is very different. You know that because you play the game. So there's a big game system that uses all the rules for very different situations, and every single mission has a little bit different rules. So you have to adjust, and you have to browse the rule book and understand how it works in this situation and other situation. Then, because there's so many moving parts, maybe oxygen generation is not super easy to understand. Maybe reserve is not easy to understand. Maybe malfunction track is not easy to understand. Like there's so many things that it is a complex game, that's for sure. And maybe if we spend even more time polishing the layout, polishing some rules, that'll be much better for the game. I don't know. I spent on this beast 3 years of my life, and I thought that I'm done. Maybe I should spend the 4th year, or maybe I should spend only 2 years and don't make it that complicated. We will know it after many years when we have this perspective. It's still for me very new thing and fresh thing, I would say. But for sure, some things went wrong in the production of the game, with the way we wanted players to play the game, how we wanted them to learn the game. We learned a lot from that experience, and I hope it will be good for everybody, like for gamers with new design from Portal Games. This is a good lesson.
Yeah, so because you definitely support all your games. I'm looking at the games in the Portal's website. They always have downloadable content. They always have at least mini expansions, if not big box expansions. There might be a good opportunity to transition. Actually, before that, you mentioned before that you're going to continue releasing standalone scenarios and other content for First Martians.
Yes. So we, as you know, we just for the Christmas we released a new mission, Epidemic. And it's an absolutely full-blown, awesome mission, absolutely for free. You download it from the app and have fun. And for the first quarter, we will have a completely new concept. I'm now working with my coders how to do it the best way. Sort of training missions from MCAA, so from the Earth, and you will be getting new tasks and new missions on a regular basis. And this will be awarded with the points, and you will be in the information from the Earth. Okay, guys, you need this training, that, and you will get many small, simple missions from Earth to play the game again and again. So yes, the free content for the game, as promised when I released the game, is on the way. We released already 2 missions, and we will release many, many more.
Okay, so I think when people released First Martians, they kind of thought to themselves, oh, this is going to be where Robinson Crusoe goes because it's the same system, and Robinson Crusoe is done. Lo and behold, we have new Robinson Crusoe coming out. So we have the Lost City of Z, which I believe you're putting the finishing design touches on, and will be coming out
later 2018. It will be released, and yes, I'm almost done with this beast as well. This is a big expansion. We already teased campaign. You mentioned Lost City of Z. But actually, in the box there will be so much more. We haven't announced it yet. So just a small teaser here that this box will not only have a campaign, which I will talk about it in a moment, but also the whole system that you can play base Robinson Crusoe with the new set of rules that make the game horror-like, so some new cards, some new mechanisms, and you can play even the basic game of Robinson Crusoe, like Castaways or Saving Jenny, all these old missions, but with the new twists, and have a great time, and with new characters, etc. So this is a campaign, but it is so much more than just a campaign, because it is also an upgrade for the base game of the Robinson Crusoe. And the Lost City of Z is a 5-mission long campaign, quite similar to MHS Beagle campaign we released a couple of years ago. So you are playing a campaign, you have your characters, and you have to survive the whole campaign with this one set of the characters. And many years ago, there was a man called Colonel Percy Fawcett, who was a British explorer and who was exploring Amazon areas, and he got missing. And in this campaign, the Lost City of Z, players will try to find him and find the reason why he got lost in the jungle. So this is as we make fun based on the true story. Of course, it's not based on the true story. There's lots of crazy things happening because this is a board game. But we got inspired by the history of the colonel, and the players who like history will find some small details to have a smile.
Mm-hmm. So this has been in development. Speaking of spending years and years on a thing, I was hearing about a quote-unquote Cthulhu style expansion for a very, very long time. Is that this?
Yes, this is this. But after seeing how many mythos, Cthulhu, Lovecraftian games there's on the market, I said, okay, I want to make a dark, horror, occult story, but I cannot stand another Lovecraftian campaign. So I started research, and I found the story of Mr. Fawcett, who got missing, and I started learning about this and about his drive to find a missing city, the lost mysterious city. And I said, okay, this is my story. It is not Lovecraft. It is based on the real world, and we go to this direction. So there will be a tribe. There will be some mysterious tribes. There will be some mysterious cults in this jungle. So it is still horror, Robinson Crusoe, but it is more or less set in the real world and not in the Lovecraftian world.
Okay, so you said...
As I said, based on the true story, Mr. Colonel didn't make it, and he died, and he will die as well.
Of course, it's Robinson Crusoe. You have to die. If you don't die, you're not playing it right.
So this is our marketing plan for 2018. Based on the true story, the main character didn't make it.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned the Beagle expansion. That's still a Z-Man thing, or at least that's the only version we can get. Is Portal going to be releasing the Beagle expansion?
In 2018, we got our rights back for Beagle, and that means that in 2018 we will work on the new edition, improving some things of that, and in 2019 we will release our edition. So for 2018, players will have a new app for Robinson Crusoe, and we will have a Lost City of Z for Robinson Crusoe, and in 2019 they will have MHS Beagle and something more.
Oh, so not till 2019 that the Beagle will come out.
Because first I have to get the rights back, and I will get the rights back in 2018. So I need some months to start printing it, etc., etc.
So we're going to do a little bit of bouncing because, like I said before in the beginning, you guys have a lot of stuff coming out. So another one I wanted to hit was Alien Artifacts. So Alien Artifacts hit, I guess, at the second quarter or the second half of the last year. How's been the reception to that that you've seen?
Very polarized. Lots of people said it's awesome and recommend and play the game, and I'm super happy. Some people said it's stupid, so it's basically the standard feedback you get when you release the game. I'm working in this industry for so many years, and it is always a surprise for me. Anyway, we are super happy. We are just printing the first expansion for the Alien Artifact. It is called Discovery. It will be released in March. The first print run is sold out both in Europe and in America. And as we are speaking, we are preparing shipping for the new print run to America. So the first reception was very, very good. It was a very difficult time because we were releasing it at the end of the year in America, and this is very busy period of the year for all retailers and distributors. So it was very hard to not be omitted, but yes, we made it, and the game sold very, very well. And as I mentioned, the feedback, of course, very polarized, but it is a usual thing, so I'm super happy anyway. And we will see how it will grow in January and February, because in March we will have a first expansion.
Yeah, and so the thing that stood out to me, one, it's a card game, and I think you kind of have this card game thing nailed. So people compare it to Imperial Settlers and 51st State. This is another one of those. Where I actually it's funny because I think some of the polarizing feedback is that it's supposed to be a 4X card game or a 4X experience in an hour with a deck of cards or whatever it is, and I find it to be more of like a city builder type game, so like Imperial Settlers. So as long as I got my head in the right mind space, I was able to kind of really enjoy it on the table. So in terms of like hype and expectation, is that kind of another thing that you encountered, or is that
this is exactly the case. So the game uses the 4X terminology, exterminate, etc., and it immediately builds the image in the heads of the players, and then they say, okay, I don't feel this 4X feeling. It is just a city building. It is just engine building. So even at some point when we were marketing the game in 2017, at some point we figured out that this is dangerous to call the game 4X. And if you do some research, you will find in the internet that our first marketing was calling the game 4X sci-fi game. At some point around summer 2017, we cut off the 4X name because we began to be afraid that it would be very, very dangerous for us, and we started calling the game only science fiction engine building game. And now we keep the name science fiction engine building game because this 4X is very, very dangerous. Like there's so many hardcore fans who love 4X games, and they love their miniatures and the map and conquering other players and all these technology trees and all the things that are connected with the 4X style games. And competing with Twilight Imperium, it is not our goal, and because this is just a cool, very fast card game about building your empire. And calling it 4X was, at the very beginning, it was a mistake. We figured out that it is a bad idea, and we changed the narration. But of course, still there are some people who say, "Oh, this is not 4X game." No, this is not 4X game. I confirm.
It's kind of like doing your business in a pool. Once it gets out there, it's hard to kind of take it back.
This is very interesting stuff. Once again, I'm now preparing the whole marketing plan for 2018. How we will market the games, and this is very difficult. On one hand, you want to push very strong marketing. You want hype. You want excitement of the players. You want to sell the games at the very beginning very strongly. But building a very, very huge hype and very huge expectations, you are putting yourself in a very difficult position because then the game is released. And if people have too high expectations, you will get the very bad reviews because people will say, well, it is not that good as I expected because you put so much expectation very high. So for companies these days, it is a very difficult task because the market is crowded. We all, as a publishers, have to fight for the heart of the gamers. We want to make them excited about our product. But if you go too far with that, if you go too far with the excitement, then you will get negative reviews. And that's exactly what happened with the First Martians for me this year. And for the next year, for 2018, we have Detective, we have a Monolith Arena, And on one hand, I have to build the excitement for the game, and on the other hand, I'm afraid that building too much of the expectations may provide a very negative reviews at the very beginning.
Yeah, it's a shame about Alien Artifacts in that way, because I see where the 4Xs are, like the different types of cards are called, exploit, exterminate, all that kind of stuff, and you are kind of doing that. It's almost like an homage to a 4X game as opposed to a real like full blown 4X game. And that's kind of cool, right? If you like 4X games, you should want to play like an homage to it. But then, the way the marketing came out, so I could see why people were kind of like back and forth and whatever. I did want to, before we moved from Alien Artifacts, and yes, you did mention the expansion that will be coming pretty soon. I noticed that you had there's a solo mode now, and the solo mode came from a BGG user, and you credit that BGG user, Arcanum TL, in the official PDF. Well, not official PDF, but I think Portal contributed to the layout and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so this is the thing that we have our plan for the solo mode, official solo mode, but the user of BGG created a solo mode, which is also very cool. And we saw it, we played it, we saw the feedback from the players who were enjoying it, and we say, okay, it is not official, we are working on official, but this one is very cool as well. We respect the work, and I asked my artwork team, please make it look pretty, please make it easy to download and print out. And we prepared the whole PDF file with a huge thanks for the designer of this solo variant, of the fun solo variant, and as our respect to this person, we provided the whole layout so it looks like a very nice mini expansion for the game. And I know that people are enjoying it. So official solo mode will come from Portal Games, but before we are ready with that, you can enjoy the fun created, very cool variant as well. And I strongly respect all the people from BGG who come up with the all new crazy ideas, and we want to support them.
How cool is that? I forget exactly where it was. I think it was on Board Game Design Lab podcast where they said that for people who want to design, the best way to start is in the game itself that you love. Don't just start new. Start expanding the games that you already love. Or start making variants, solo modes, 5-player modes, campaign modes, or like just have fun in that space. And it's cool that you were able to kind of, identify that and help them out. And because they have the PDF, normally it's just kind of like the BGG layout, the BGG page, the website is like this block of text.
Correct.
You can't really read anything, but then you laid it out and it looks like the rule book. So that must have been really fun for him, and it's really cool for gamers overall.
Yep.
Awesome. So then just a couple of quick hitters. Imperial Settlers. Also, you have not forgotten Imperial Settlers as well.
Oh no, this is our evergreen.
Is that your Portal's strongest title at this point, or is it Nourishing the Hex?
Robinson Crusoe is the strongest, and Imperial Settlers is on the second spot. So these are our two most important games, two most important titles. We will support them. Both is a big expansion, boxed expansion, but also there's all small promos and events and tournaments, etc. And for Imperial Settlers for 2018. We have right now at the manufacturer level the new small expansion called We Didn't Start the Fire. There's 50 cards that change the game a lot. You cannot imagine how small pack of 50 cards can change the game and make all the new ideas and tricks and ways to score the points. We are super happy with this expansion. In this expansion, player can attack each other and steal faction locations and do all the crazy mean stuff because it's all about the war. We didn't start the fire. It means that you blame your opponent that he started that and you're attacking him right now. So this is it. We are working on a new faction for the game. We will announce it probably at Gamma Trade Show. And besides, as I mentioned, big boxes, big sets of cards, we are also working and for the brick and mortar support kits. So we are doing event kits for Imperial Settlers and for Robinson Crusoe. And for Imperial Settlers, event kit, as far as I know, is almost ready or will be ready in a few first days of the January. And we'll announce what's there. There will be new cards with the amazing artwork. There will be playing mat. There's lots of good stuff for the players, and all that stuff is created for the retailers, for the brick and mortar stores, to just have the players come to the store, play the game, drink beer or cola or whatever, have fun, play the game, get these free gifts for the players, and just have a great gaming night. And this is how we understand the role, the function of the brick and mortar store. Create the gaming events, and we provide this stuff for the retailer to make it easier.
I will get to the gaming store in just a second. I just wanted to just pause on Imperial Settlers just for a second and ask about those titles. So like you have We Didn't Start the Fire. There's also 3 is a Magic Number. Is there a person at Portal monitoring old American songs to get title from?
So it all, of course, started with the first expansion, and then it clicked. And now we really, when I think about the new expansion, I have so much fun looking for the good song that will match the theme of the expansion. It is like the coolest moment of the work on the expansion, like which song we will use to promote the expansion. And I can literally see all the fans singing "We Didn't Start the Fire" and playing the game. Like, it is so cool and so crazy.
It was always burning, just the world's been turning.
It's super, super awesome. And I remember my first BGG-Con, and for the first time I met Mike Fitzgerald, the great designer. And I remember him in the elevator singing "Why Can't We Be Friends?" And then he winked to me and said he loves Imperial Settlers. And I said, oh, wow, this is cool. Like, a famous designer liking my game and singing the song, the name of the first expansion. Like, how cool is that?
So you have turned maybe the most arduous part of making a game, which is coming up with a cool, catchy title, and you've actually made it fun. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Okay, so last thing I wanted to talk about, thank you so much, by the way, for giving us a lot of time and talking about and being really honest about some of the feedback and all that kind of thing. So the stores, the in-store events. So on Board Games Insider, so another promo, not only are we going to promo your blog, which is Board Games That Tell Stories on BDG, we're going to promo Board Games Insider, which you do with Stephen Bonacore, who we hope to have on the show later in the year because he's the podfather. We're not an official podcast until we have Stephen Bonacore on our show. But you do talk about, on various points, talking about supporting the local store. So, like there's that argument about, okay, certain companies are raising prices or keeping the price floor kind of high or whatever they're doing to, in the name of supporting the local store so that you don't go to the online discounters or whatever it is. And you're kind of outspoken against that. And you say, you know what, that's not the way to go. It's not free market. Let's go support local stores, right? Is that kind of, because that's what you said, is that part of what has led to some of these in-store events before we talk about the specific ones?
So since summer 2017, I run seminars for the game store owners and for the distributors. This is a seminar when I teach how to survive your game store in an e-commerce era, because we are living in an e-commerce era. There's Amazon.com and everybody buys at Amazon, and the market is changing, and the game stores have to understand that Amazon will not disappear. This is not something that we can wait few years and it will disappear. It will not disappear. Amazon will only get stronger. And for retailers, for the owners of the game stores, it is important to understand that the role of the game store is changing, and it is not only the purchase center, it is not only the place where people will come to buy the game, because it's so much easier for them to just order it from Amazon.com. The role of the modern board game store is to create a great events for the community and invite players, have fun, have drinks, play games, and that way grow the business, grow the customer base. And I strongly believe in that. As I mentioned, I run a lot of seminars in different places for both distributors and retailers, trying to convince them how the modern board game store should look like. And besides doing the seminars, I'm doing the products. So, like, I'm trying to support the brick and mortar stores, providing them this product that they can organize event kit. And in the first quarter of 2018, we released 2 kits. The one kit is for Robinson Crusoe. This is a super special mission, never before published. There is a special characters for the players. There is some wooden beads for the players. And the other kit is for Imperial Settlers, the playing map with the new cards, etc. And the concept is that the game store can invite all the players, all the fans of Imperial Settlers and said, hey guys, let's meet on Thursday night, let's bring drinks, let's play Imperial Settlers again, let's have fun, and just enjoy everybody time and promote the game, show the game to the people who never played the game, and basically spend a great time together. And this is how you will encourage your customers to visit your game store and possibly buy something. So this is what I believe very strongly. I believe that Amazon.com will be only stronger, and the way to survive for the brick and mortar stores is to create events and play with the people, and that's why event kits.
So it's a little kind of back and forth for me, because I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and going to game stores, especially like a game store like the Complete Strategist in New York City, so like a really big famous store. You go in and it just looks so intimidating. Yeah. There's just wall-to-wall games, and so that's intimidating for that way. And then you go to some other stores, and the people aren't friendly, or it's just it's not like a big welcoming thing. It's not like you're walking into the old FAO Schwartz or some big toy store where it's just like welcoming. So it's almost like, I mean, you have the event kits, but is that enough? I guess, because it seems like there's a culture change that needs to happen. Maybe that's a too big a conversation for now, but
yeah, the seminar I'm doing is 60 minutes long, so this is a huge topic, because it's a 1 hour seminar with all the ideas for the game store owners, how to attract the players, how to make a contest, how to make some lottery, how to make lots of things. Like there is, as I mentioned, there's a 60 minutes seminar with the bullet point, all the ideas how to encourage players to visit your game store. Because the problem is these days, like I don't know if you have at your home Alexa, but probably your friends have Alexa, and it's the fact that you are playing First Martians and at the table, and you say, Alexa, order me cubes, or Alexa, order me Robinson Crusoe, because this Ignacy Trzewiczek is a smart guy. Like, you don't have to, even these days, you don't even have to move to have a game at home, right? You just say, Alexa, order me Robinson Crusoe, and you will have it. So visiting game store these days, to have the reason to visit the game store, you have to have something more than just to purchase a game, because to purchase a game, you can just say, Alexa, order it, right? So this is the whole thing, the whole topic of the how to survive in the e-commerce area. As I mentioned, I don't want to make boring information, because most of your listeners probably are not running the game store and are not interested in surviving. But for the game store owners, it is a very, very important topic, because the market is changing, the Amazon is getting stronger and stronger, and they have to adjust to the situation, adjust to the modern times.
So what we care about is the actual events, because those are the ones we're going to show up to. So maybe you could run through a couple of the actual events that you have going on. So you have one for Imperial Settlers, one for Robinson Crusoe, Lost City of Z, around, and then what else do you have, and when are they going to happen?
In January, we start the year in January with the whole splash action. There's a event that is taking place in 100 game stores in America. And you just reminded me that I have to make a note that I need to list these game stores on my website. Wait a minute. Noting. Note.
You're welcome.
So there is 100 game stores in America that will run demos of the First Martians. So this is what we talked at the beginning of the interview, that the game has a reputation of a very difficult rule book that you have to struggle to understand. So that's why we working with the Envoy program, and 100 volunteers or some people will go to the game stores and run an event for the game. So either you bought the game already and you are struggling, either you considered buying the game but you're afraid of the rule book. There is a person who will visit the game store, teach you the game, and present it to you. So this is how we open the year. And then in February we have Robinson Crusoe events all around the places, and then we have Imperial Settlers events, and then, as you mentioned, the early launch for the Discover expansion for Alien Artifacts. So basically the game store owners and with that gamers will have lots of nice events in the stores to get some promos, to get some additional content, and basically play the games. This is the most important.
Okay. So then the first one's going to be First Martian, and then it's just kind of periodically as things come out, as Imperial Settlers comes out, as Robinson Crusoe comes out, the Alien Artifacts expansion, all of these are going to get event kits, and all of these are going to be, you'll get people together, or maybe just like kind of give people guidance as to how to implement these event kits, all that kind of thing.
So the thing is that the game store will receive the package from us, And in this package, there is a content for 16 players, as far as I remember. That means that 16 people can visit the game store and play the game. And then each of these persons will get something to get to home. So either it is a promo card, it is some wooden piece, it is a new additional character for the Robinson Crusoe, whatever the kit it is. But you just go to the game store, you play the game, hopefully you have a fun, and then you have something you can get home and have that, okay, I remember that in January I was in the game store and it was this cool event and this is what they gave me. So this is free for the players. Stuff, I think this is a win-win situation. The game store has customers at the store, and I have my game played, and the gamers have a great time and have something to get to home. So win-win, in my opinion.
Awesome. So that will end the game portion of our podcast. Thank you so much for being so honest, being so open, and talking about all the stuff that you have going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's going to go ahead and do it for another episode of Every Night is Game Night. You notice at the very end that I mentioned that this was the end of the game portion of the interview. What we ended up doing was we ended up going about 10 to 15 minutes extra on either side of the interview to talk about all sorts of stuff. We talked about Russian hackers. We talked about taking his daughter to see Jumanji, like real life stuff. So yeah, I wanted to take that and I wanted to section it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to release that as an after hour special, which is an independent, unnumbered podcast, a series in our little library of shows. I'm going to put that out probably next week. Hopefully that'll be fun for you and you'll enjoy that. In the meantime, and until next week, we invite you to please get in touch with us. I'm at ENGN_podcast. You can also talk to me and Anthony at the Board Gamers Anonymous Facebook, at our website, which is boardgamersanonymous.com. We also have everynightisgamenight.com kind of tied into all that. We're always available. We're always willing to kind of talk to people. If you want to point us in the right direction in terms of topics, in terms of interviews, games you want to talk about, always hit us up. We're really, really excited to hear from you. And yep, I'm going to do it every single time that I do the outro. Please go ahead and tune in to iTunes, to SoundCloud, to Google Play Store, wherever you listen to podcasts and you're able to rate. Please give us a rating. Write down what you think, or just go in there and give us a star rating, 5 stars or whatever, however many stars you think we deserve. It really helps us get a lot of attention to the pod. Like I said, this is a new year. We thought we had an amazing, excellent, fun 2017. We want to make 2018 even better. Keep with the weekly schedule. Keep with the Kickstarter previews. Keep with the interviews. And always, always keep with the games. So, this is Jason signing off. I'm reminding you, just like Anthony would, to grab a game off that shelf and make every night a game night.